Hey Logan, sorry if the audio is kind of bad on this. I'm still waiting on a good mic coming in the mail. So let's go ahead and watch through this. You're probably not going to be able to hear the sound. I'll actually just turn off the sound for right now anyway. So just going to kind of go through these one at a time. The first one there, let me watch it one more time. I don't really see a whole lot in that one with the exception of maybe you could loosen up the hands and face just a touch. Face not as much as the hands, but I do think you could do a little bit of something with just a couple of slight pose changes, not like from angry to sad or something, but just like very small eyebrow movements or corner of the mouth movements. And then the thumbs just feel kind of locked in place there. The fingers do, so maybe just a little bit of drag just to loosen them up, just a little bit, like in a passing pose or something. It may already be there, but they just still kind of feel a little locked at the wrist. So maybe it does need just a touch more wrist movement too, just to loosen it up a little bit. Let me watch one more time. Otherwise, that feels pretty good. This is like I just want to mention this. This is much improved since the first time we looked at this. So this is working much better. Um, and I think I mentioned that in the previous portfolio review. I do still feel like there's a little bit of like linear motion in how the front of it is looking, and it kind of feels like it's got some almost some hesitations or something in the steps. So wouldn't mind if you want to email me this one or something. I may be able to pick it apart a little bit more and just get a touch more cleanup on that. I think some of it's how the feet are kind of hitting the ground too, just a little bit on it. Um, it just feels a little stiff. Um, but it's feeling much better. I just think you could maybe spend another 30, 45 minutes on this one and really kind of polish it into place. Uh, I also think that just a little bit of looseness on the tip of that tail would loosen the whole tail up. It's already there a little bit, but maybe just amplifying that just by a touch. But I think the forces are feeling a little bit more like they're accurate. Now it's just kind of loosening some of it and polishing some of it up. So I'm not I'm not sure what you're showing in this jump. If it's just showing that you can do the blending, and so the animation is intentionally kind of unfinished, or if it's showing the early stages of a flip that blends into the animation. My guess is that it's the early stages of a flip that blends into the animation. And so, if that's the case, I think you could do a little bit more in the posing of it at this stage. Sorry, I don't know why you can't. I wish you could scrub in YouTube a little better. Can you step in YouTube? Apparently not. Uh, so, like what I notice is that in this rotation, he's rotating perfectly at his hips. Um, and so it's not really. I mean, just look at some reference of how a flip works. It's kind of like your weight shift almost or your center of rotation almost changes throughout that flip. But having said that, I again I'm not sure exactly what you're going for. Uh, there's a couple of little hitches in the motion capture still yet. So my assumption is that what this is supposed to be is showing me the early works of blending between motion capture, because I think that there's a lot of little polish you can do on that. If what you're wanting to show is like he loses gravity there and is being twirled around, I think he could still use some more polish. Like it's not supposed to look like a realistic flip. I think we could still use a little polish on it, but there's like some head pops and stuff like that. Let's look at this guy. I think that your poses, no, I think that the motion and forces look pretty good. I think that there's a couple of poses that could be cleaned up, but they go by so quick in here. Yeah, so like here's a good example. Let me see if I can find it so I can pop it up for you. Screencast marker, yeah. Get some marker on this thing so we can draw. Is just sort of how you're. So if we're talking in terms of line of action, you got a couple of interesting things here. Like your head is pointed forward and doing that, and then you get this really uncomfortable angle between the shoulders, and sort of an uncomfortable angle here, how much this knee is pointed out compared to how. Let's see, if the hips are like that, then the leg is kind of doing this really. It's like it's got an awkward bend there. So I think like just kind of tweaking this to make the pose just flow a little bit better, like all through here, like all of that, and then how you sort of get this connection with your spine. The spine's not bad, but then it kind of feels like the head in this section is jutting forward. So when we talk about line of action, there's the line of action that goes all the way through the body, but you want to kind of avoid these awkward hitches in the pose through a lot of the lines that go through there. So I think that there's some stuff you can do there. I think you may be able to give the hands a little bit more loving too, just because it's going so fast. I don't know. Some of these hand poses are looking pretty good. So I mean, I think that really I would want to go through that one almost pose by pose and just give you. Yeah, like that's not bad. Here, maybe we're getting something going on in that elbow back there, something in the clavicle. So I think it's just like cleaning up some of these little like what's going to feel like imperfections in the mesh because of the way the rig is deforming it. We can't just blame the rig. We have to still try to make it look good. So I think there's a couple of little spots there that you could clean up. Sorry, accidentally paused the recorder there for a second. But again, it'll be kind of hard for me to. It's not all of them, but there's just a couple of them. Okay, so let's go into this next one here and here. So it's the arrow shot. From what I'm seeing right now, I mean it's pretty early, but I think I think that it's working. Let me go back and see if I can see specific poses. So again, I think we could do a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit to kind of work on your line of actions and some of your cleanliness here on these poses. So this arm comes up and then kind of bends, so you get a sharp angle there. And so you're not getting quite as much force out of it. Like right now, the shape kind of feels like that, 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 right? And it's kind of got these weird hitches to it. But what if your shape were a little bit more like this? Then maybe you would have a little bit more energy through it. And so it's just smoother. You got like sort of these lines of energy that kind of flow through the pose to get sort of like a little bit more of a clean angle. And it may not even be that. It may be a little bit sharper and then a dip. So something like that. And if you have something like that, then you get a little bit more of a flow of force through this direction, where right now there's a lot of stuff that's kind of hiccuping there, kind of stopping that flow of force. To get very, very nitpicky on this one, I think you could also kind of play around with sort of this angle of the character, like really kind of push that and clean it up. His spine pose could just be, like right now on this side, you get kind of that going on in his spine. And I think just having this entire concave angle here contrasting this, and then when he releases the arrow, then that's a question of what you do with that energy. Like you may not have to do anything with it, but either way, having him completely sort of concave, convex, I can't remember which is which, just having that complete like pull that way really just increases that energy that is being pulled back this way. So it's all about kind of force and clarifying how you're communicating that force in every pose. Again, not bad, just talking about ways of emphasizing it a little more strongly. See if we can find another. So yeah, when he lets it go, maybe his body just kind of shifts in a little bit and relaxes or something. Let's see if we can find another. So not bad, but I think we could loosen up some of this arm. Like that, the hand pose still feels a little. I don't want to say robotic, but it feels a little bit like you could just loosen it from the original bind pose. Like right now, it kind of feels like all of them just kind of rotated in. Like just really start taking into account how is that contacting. Getting a little bit of a weirdness in the back of his finger back there and stuff like that. So I think there's a couple little things we could do to intensify this one. And one of the things I would venture to say is, could we intensify it just by taking it in a little closer? Could we get just a little bit more like this framing? Just, I don't know if we watch this all the way through now with that framing, do we actually lose anything? Or do we gain something? Maybe even a little, well, let's not use a circle, let's try a box. Maybe even something like this framing. Do we get something yeah, could we do something like that? And so just kind of looking at that a little bit. We can talk about that one in a little bit more detail. But I would, if you want to go through and we can kind of just analyze every pose together, I'm open for that as well. So far, that would be those two, the twist flip parkour thing and the arrow shoot. Maybe just sort of sit down if you want to sometime with those videos and just frame by frame it, sort of analyze each pose. If you want to email me those in QuickTime or something, I can do it that way as well, just through a video capture like this. Walk cycle. I don't have a lot to add to the walk cycle. Let me watch it one more time. So when critiquing a walk cycle, I'm like, I can't see anything that feels broken on it. There feels like there may be a tiny hitch in it, but I don't really always see it, so maybe not. Yeah, so I'm not really catching it. It may actually just be a playback speed thing. So when critiquing a walk cycle, for me, if I can't find anything specifically wrong with it, that's good. Like that means you're hitting it there. Everything on top of that means, what are you trying to convey with it? And if what you're trying to convey with this is sad, I mean, yeah, we could play with it a little bit on how to push that, but if it's tired, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it, per se. So everything on top of that is just emphasis. Can you emphasize it more clearly? And we could come up with a couple of ways of doing that, but since it's not broken, I'm kind of like, let's not fix it. Every walk cycle you do will be beneficial, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like playing with the tempo of something. It's not like you're fixing it. You're changing it. If there's nothing broken in it, like, let's not worry about it. The only thing I would say in this is I still really am not feeling that push in the character's spine. And I think just having a little bit more of a curve in the back before he starts to push it, and then straightening that back out after it starts to move, or like a little bit after it starts moving, just kind of straightening that line out a little bit, or maybe even uh, reversing it. I wouldn't say go completely to reverse because it's a very subtle robotic move. But I think just having a little bit more bend right in here and having him lean into that to get that force started moving would help this piece. And let me look real quick. I'm about to run out of time. The feet feel a little stationary there. I don't know what to say about that exactly. It's more like, I feel like as the thing starts to move, maybe you could sort of roll up on the ball a little bit on the front foot, or do a little bit of something just to show that force from that back leg kind of pushing it forward. So I don't know, it's a little bit of stuff, but I'm running out of time, so we could look at that one a little bit more, but it's close. So thanks.